Hello everyone and welcome to today's Travel Counsellors webinar hosted by myself, Joe Higson from the recruitment team here at our support function in Manchester. Today we're going to be looking at all things training. So over the past 18 months we've adapted and changed to the times, the pandemic obviously, and we're joined by a member of our learning and development team, Matthew Williams, on the couch today. Matt, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Do you prefer Matt or Matthew? Which can I go for?
Me either. It depends how friendly you are with me.
I'll go with Matt for now then, okay. And then see if we can go from there. Matt joined the business recently and is helping the transition from what once was our training programs here held in Venus in Manchester to now a digital program. So lots to go through. We'll also be joined by Jim, the head of our sales team and directorship here, and also travel counsellors Debbie and Sue, who will give an insight to what they've been through since joining the business and going through said training programs that we are going to be going through. So we'll jump straight into it. Matt, we'll kick off with you. Introduce yourself.
So you said recently to the business. I've been here about 5.5 months now.
Nice.
So come in as L&D project manager with the specific remit to look at the digital induction or moving to a digital induction. And there's two reasons with that. One is obviously the pandemic meant that we had to turn on a sixpence really and move our training from what was held here in Manchester. So it was a weeks-long induction, classroom-based training in Manchester. We needed to change that right away.
I remember it. We had an induction, and on the course of that weekend where they would go home and then come back, office shut down, and right, how do we do this? What do we do? And that's probably why I suppose you've been brought in to help.
So there's, it's been a terrible 18 months, but I think in a lot of cases it's moved a lot of things forward. Technology's moved forward. The use of Zoom and digital education has all moved forward because it's had to in that case. So we've taken that opportunity and we've taken that moment in time of that last 18 months to really take a step back and look at what we wanted to do. I think there's a second big reason, and I know it's something that's always been on the agenda as well, is previously we've always held our inductions in Manchester, and basically if you couldn't attend a week's worth of training in Manchester, so that could be that you struggle with childcare or you don't want to travel this far or whatever that would be, we were missing out on talent. We were missing out on opportunities to recruit great people and great travel counsellors. So I think that was one of the driving forces behind it, but I don't think we ever had a chance to take a step back and really make the big leap forward. So when I joined, that decision had already been made, and my job was really to help the team motor that forward and make that change to a digital induction. One of the biggest challenges you've got is that travel counsellors is famed for, with us it's personal. That's our strapline, that's our value, that's who we are. And I think when you say a digital induction or you say anything digital, it sounds very impersonal, doesn't it? It sounds very clinical.
It's a common question that we'll get is, from a recruitment point of view, how do you make it work for me? I prefer it in person. I prefer being around a group. So
absolutely,
I'm sure one of the challenges that you've had. How's that been tackled? And sorry to interrupt. Yeah, carry on.
No, it is, and that's what we always got when people attended the training. They used to get a great feeling from being here in head office and a great feeling of being there with your team around you and you're learning at the same pace. If I come from my sort of L&D expertise area like that, there's some challenges that go with that. So imagine you were attending a week's worth of training somewhere else in Newcastle, let's say. By Thursday afternoon, you've had 4 or 5 days in the classroom, you've been having lunches, you've been going out for meals at night, you've probably had a couple of drinks, you're in a hotel, all your routines change, you're missing your family. By about Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, do you think you're retaining the right amount of information?
You're thinking of other things, I imagine.
You're thinking of other things because you've been away, you've been taken out of your environment, you've been taken out of your step of home life and family life. From a training point of view as well, if you've got a classroom worth of people, you only really can go as fast as the middle person. Because within any group of people, take 10 people, there's always a couple of people that take a bit longer to consume the information and maybe go a little bit slower and may feel a little bit shy to be able to put the hand up and ask a question. Then you've got a group of people at the front who are speeding ahead. We call them clickers, people who want to click round the systems very quick.
I think I'd be one of them.
Are you a clicker?
Probably.
Because they take information quick, they're more of an activist than they want to get on. So the trainer only can really go as fast as the middle part because people are going ahead and people are getting slowed. So 5 days of an intense training period like that is quite a lot to consume what you need to consume to understand travel counsellors, the systems, the industry, the ways of working, all that sort of stuff. There's a hell of a lot of information. So one of the big advantages of going and moving towards digital, sorry, I'll get on to your personal question in a minute. So one of the big advantages of the digital learning within there is basically, it's at your own pace. So you can, if you're that slow person, you can take your time, stop it every couple of minutes, retrace your steps, replicate it in the system, go back. If you're that faster person, I've watched it, 5 minutes, great, click, I know what I'm doing. And then there's testing and qualification at the end. So it really suits different types of learners and different learner styles. You then have the learning styles, so some people want, to see videos, and some people want to read, and some people want to do activities. So when we're designing the material, we need to make sure we hit all that. And we've done a hell of a lot of work over the last 6 months to make sure that the material is what we class as blended. Right. We use a lot of video content in there because we know that that's great for, one, getting a message across, but two, being able to consume information within there. So lots of videos of real TCs, real people telling it as how it is. We went through a big design process where we got around about 24, 25 TCs on a panel to help us design the content. And what's really interesting is, from an internal point of view, you design a nice piece of content, you think it sounds excellent, you push it out to your customers, they come back and they say, we don't talk like that. Yeah. Even though that is the right process, but that's not the language we talk in. And I think that was a real big eye-opener for us that, previously we were probably designing material that doesn't sound TC aligned. So that was a great element within there. The videos and the tasks and the real TCs give us a little personalization within the learning modules. But that can only go too far. If you're clicking through and you spend 4 hours, 5 hours a day just on learning modules, it is quite impersonal. It is quite clinical to a point, even though we've got these videos and the tasks in there. So that was my biggest, I'd say, challenge, our head scratch when I came into the business, was how do we make this feel personal? And what we've done is we've taken a blended approach. So we utilize Microsoft Teams. Okay. The world is now familiar with Microsoft Teams and what that means. And we put people into a group and a community.
As well, where have you been?
Yeah, exactly. Probably on Zoom or furlough. Yeah. You get put into a Microsoft Teams group before you actually start, and we use that post section within Microsoft Teams as a virtual sort of works WhatsApp group. Yep. So lots of people talking, lots of people saying hello. It's interesting to watch it migrate as well, because the first couple of days everyone's very polite, and then you get into about day 3 or 4 and the community starts kicking in, because these people know each other then, and it's all gifts and it's all sharing. And from a trainer point of view, we have an opportunity to sort of structure the learning. So you'll join on day 1, you'll have a nice welcome session with everybody. We usually get a director involved to say hello and welcome everybody to the business. You have a chat with your trainer, and then you're off to do your first couple of modules. So we say you've got 2 modules to do, and that'll take you up to about dinner. So take your lunch and then come back at 1:30. And then you're off then. You close down your Teams. Your Teams is still there to ask any questions because we have trainers monitoring in the background, but you're able to go through your learning at your own pace. We roughly know how long it takes. So if you're a clicker and you go dead fast, great, you've motored through it, you have a little bit longer for your lunch, or you can go back and do some more learning and click back. And that's another great advantage of digital learning, is it's available at any time. We've had people who are necessarily a little bit slower, and they'll say, I haven't quite finished that module and the kids are coming home from school. Not a problem, log back on at 7, 8 o'clock at night once the kids have gone to bed and go through that within there. So we utilise Microsoft Teams to create a virtual community within there, and then there's a trainer or a head office staff that almost guides people through the learning within the week or the 2 weeks that they join us. So it might be that, right, we're going to get together on Tuesday morning and we're going to have a conversation about duty of care. there. So everybody knows what roughly stage they need to be up to by Tuesday morning. Within that day, you'll probably have contact 2 or 3 times with a trainer within there. But the learning, you're on your own, you're at home, you're in your own environment, you don't feel pressurised, you can learn at your own pace, but you then have an opportunity to speak to a trainer and work with a trainer.
I was just going to pull up on that, and I think that's quite important for anyone who is wondering about this digital transformation and how we're running our training, is also that there is someone from Travel Counsellors there at your beckoning whenever you need them or any support. So can you just touch on that? Because I think that's so important for anyone listening to, they're not just modular based and on you go and click through it, there's always someone there as well.
Yes. So it'll be one of our trainers, which is usually Dawn or Lisa. And as I said, they will kick off the day with usually a welcome, and it's either a little conversation about the learning that happened yesterday or what's to come today, a little bit of a plan to the day, and then you're off doing your modules for an hour or 2 hours. So there could be 10 people off doing their modules. So what we ask is if anyone's got a question at that time to pop it in the group, because if you've got that question, somebody else has got that question. Dawn then can write an answer. And then if it needs be, if it's something a little bit more complicated, the individual can ring Dawn or we can ring them as well, and we can share screens, and technology gives us the opportunity to connect with people. But for us, it's really important when we come back that we have that community learning. What did you get from that? How did you find this? Can you show us on your screen what you got?
There is that face-to-face aspect still.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, one of the sort of rules, if you like, is a rule that we want people to have their cameras on. You know, people do feel uncomfortable sometimes being on video. I always find it a bit interesting because if it's on video, it's your face. Yeah. Everyone else sees that with you walking around. But yeah, we try to keep videos on where we can. We did have an issue a couple of weeks ago where there was a naked man in the background. So at that point, we did ask
That's the danger of doing it on.
Yeah.
So you can on Microsoft Teams blur out your background as well if you need to. But it is, isn't it? There's always a delivery man or a pet running across the screen. We've certainly seen it all, and I think that's something to be embraced more so than anything.
Oh yeah, there's a window into people's look. Travel counsellors are running their own business, and they are personable people and a relationship-based approach to selling. So we need a relationship-based approach to training, but we're utilising the technology that we've got. And as I said, that acceptance and that technology has moved so fast in the last 6 to 12 months. It's not like the dodgy Zoom calls you used to do on a Friday night in lockdown. You know, the technology is there to improve what we're doing from a learning point of view. And then we back it up with these anytime self-paced modules, which are hugely aligned to everything that's going on right now. It's a really nice mix, and I'm really proud of what the team have created. And we get great feedback. I mean, we're going to have a video now from at the end of this from Debbie King, who was, we'll be honest, she was a bit reluctant. 2 weeks of death by PowerPoint, she calls it. Yeah. That's what she was reluctant to. It's not like that. And once she's gone through it, she understands the blended element to it, and she understands the benefit she gets and the camaraderie she's got with a group. She actually went out for lunch with them last week, which was really nice, and that community-based stuff. So, yeah, I feel like it's a nice mix, and I feel like the biggest thing that I'm probably proud of from the team is it reflects who we are, right, which is a personal relationship business.
Good, because that's one of the main things. It's not come away from that.
Yes.
Then in this whole change process. So for anyone who is sort of in the process of finding out where they are up to with travel counsellors, and if it could be an option, traditionally we and still to that matter had four routes of entry. So we had an academy training program for anyone who was brand new to the industry. We had a travel trade and a return to travel program for either people in the industry but not sold, or people who had been away from the industry and had sold for a period of time. And we've combined those two together. The third was our leisure training program and training induction, and also our corporate induction. And they are still as they are, in the sense of they're the routes of entry that people would come through on. But they have slightly changed in terms of the content and the context of it. So whereas previously it's been 5 days virtually, now it's actually changing as well, isn't it, to over a period of 10 days time. So can you just explain that and why that's for, what that's for, and how that will work?
So two things really for that. One, digital content does take a little bit longer, just because it's not a trainer talking at you for an hour. There might be an hour's worth of content, so you've got to set that up at the beginning and have a conversation after it, so it takes slightly longer. So we always knew there was an opportunity to extend it out slightly just to get more in there, and there was more content that we wanted in there. Travel has got a little bit more complicated to some extent with regulations and things like that. Yeah, and it changes quite often. So we always knew there was more content, especially from a corporate point of view. We always knew that we wanted it to be a little bit longer. Previously, you did graduate after 5 days. Yep. So, your business would go live and you graduated. Again, it felt like too soon to graduate somebody after 5 days. So after 10 days, your business is set live, and we've actually moved that graduation date from the 5 days. We've moved it to 6 months now, because we have a lot more support and progress in those periods outside your training to when you graduate at 6 months. So there's a number of booked in supplier days, return to Venus training for certain pathways within there. There's connection with the coaching team a lot more now. We call them the top-up days that happen directly after your training. The digital learning continues, so there's different pathways, but again, that's moulded to sort of we call it like a pick and mix of learning, because let's say we have 50 courses that we recommend that would be useful for you as a new travel counsellor. We might say that you have to complete 30 of those. So if you've come from a background of ski, let's say, you don't need the introduction to ski. So you can make a choice about what courses fit you and where you want to get to.
I think that's where we've noticed and recognised as a business that, not everyone needs ABC. Yes. Some need A, S, X, whatever I'm trying to say is they don't all fit one fits all.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that was a good thing that's come out of this transformation, is that we've now been able to adapt and change it to fit the needs of, this person needs one thing, the other person, same course, same induction, same training, but actually needs something completely different. Yeah. So it's not a one fits all.
Absolutely.
Space anymore.
Yeah, and people's experiences and where they come from, and when you're doing face-to-face training, once you've done it, it's gone, where the digital learning's there available. So you might think, right, well, ski's not something within my product set. I'm not going to be selling ski. I don't need introduction to ski. That's not on my business plan. Somebody comes to you and says, right, I want some holiday. Ski. Yeah. You can go back, you can spend 40 minutes learning about introduction to ski, and it's there available, and you've learned in that methodology. You understand what benefit and how much time it takes, and you're a home-based worker, so your learning should be home-based.
Yeah. If you could summarise 4, because I'm different, not 3, 4 positive changes since coming from the old induction and way of training and learning to now, what would they be?
4, okay.
4, not 3.
So one of the biggest ones is it's self-paced learning. I think that for me, purely looking from a learner retention point of view, being able to go through it at your own pace that suits you and not having people pressurised around you, which it does feel like in a classroom, that's definitely one. I think moving the graduation to 6 months gives a much longer supportive journey. A lot of the time, you will only really learn something in context. So you'll only really learn about that booking process when you do a booking. Sure. So there's only so much you can do in the classroom or through digital learning. So by having that support moved out to that 6 months and that guided pathway, I think that's a big benefit within there. Weirdly, one of the big sort of positives was the whole pandemic. It gave us as a business the time, the space to really take a step back and to look at all the material and the way that we do something. We talk about a moment in time, and we really have had a moment in time, and it's with the technology advancing, but also us being able to take the time and look at our material. That's massively benefited how we're bringing on people, even to the fact as well, with that happy and proud, and we can see the benefit of the material. We're actually running a training festival this month for all existing TCs, which is called Rediscover, and the platform's called Discover. Because that material has been, so much attention has happened, it's all been redesigned, it's beneficial to existing
People want
TCs.
to check it out, I feel, as well. People want to look at this new brand new toy in a way, let's checheck it out, and they do see the positives.
There's benefit to everybody within there, so that's been a big one. And what's the other one?
One last one.
The business hours me.
It's a win-win situation.
No, I think coming in from, I don't come from a travel background per se. I come from a learning development background. So to come from parachuted into the business and to be able to look at all the great talent we already had within the team, but just be able to maybe organise it and push it forward from a learner point of view, I think has been good for me and good for the business as well.
Gives it an external pair of eyes, I suppose, rather than just having travel blinkers on.
Yeah.
Which in some cases I would say has been the case for.
Yeah, and it's been, it's a great gig really, because the customer, the travel counsellors that we've got are so sort of welcoming and just want to help. So the people who've helped us create the material and test the material and the processes, the new travel counsellors coming through the process, they want to feedback, they want to help us do that, and there's just such a positivity about the customer. Mm-hmm. It makes my job amazing.
That easy.
Yeah, and coming from an outside in, and I imagine you talk a lot about it in recruitment. Like the special sauce, the feeling we've got here, it's tangible. You see it. In the want and the attention from everybody to want to help you is great. So that's apart from me, but that's a big benefit.
Thank you very, very much for joining us today. Hope you've enjoyed it. I don't think we've been on the couch either before, so.
No, it's been nice to talk about it in that way as well. Yeah.
Well, it's all coming out in the next coming weeks and months, so something definitely to look forward to. And just to really summarise and capture what Matt said, is that we had a method that previously worked in the world that we were in. But we have changed significantly, and you'll have heard it however many times, but so is the world that we're living in. And we had to adapt to that in order to continue growing as a business, and in order to really encourage new travel counsellors to join the business and people to take that leap in a time where it was so unsure, meant we had to be flexible and we had to change. And part and parcel of that is the way that we now launch our training programs to new travel counsellors. So it's a very, very positive time to join. We've got the tools in place with the methods that Matt's brought into the business, and with the new training that we've launched. And just before we go into the interview with Jim, Debbie and Sue, who are, I suppose, people who've joined, is it fair to say, Matt, not as a tester, but they've tested out the new way of learning?
Debbie came through the new process. So she was an academy inductee, so never worked in travel before, but went through the digital learning and had an honest apprehension towards digital learning, which is really good. And then the second person you've got is Sue Plummer, who's been with the business sort of 18 and a half years, and she helped us design the material. So she's one of the people who was telling us, that doesn't sound like us. So you get a real nice mix. I think the other thing that we've not spoke about is that we've recently just released something called TC World, which is a community platform that brings everything together from a TC point of view. So you have a community that you can reach out to ask any type of question and get any type of feedback. And I think those two really touch on both a new person and an existing person, that the opportunity you've got to develop through this new material, but how big the community is and how much of a benefit that TC World program is. And they really touch on those two things at either ends of the scale of how they've joined. That introduction has been part and parcel of the changes that the business have been going through. Incredibly useful tools for travel counsellors, current and new, to get stuck into the business and reconnect with what was their old business, because it's so different now. So before we launch that video, an interview with the three of them, if you do have any questions and want to know any more about travel counsellors and the opportunity of running a business with us, please get in touch. We'll pop the details up at the end of this show, and myself or any of the team will always be happy to answer any questions, and for you to do your due diligence, we're happy to aid that as well. So I hope you found the show useful. Lots of things going on at Travel Counsellors at this moment in time, and as I say, a very exciting time to join the business. We're going to play out now with this interview. It's a little long, but stick with it. It's really useful, and you'll see a real glimpse of what it's like now as someone going through their first year as a travel counsellor. So enjoy, and hopefully catch up with you all next time. Take care.
I'm delighted to be joined by two amazing TCs, one just 2 months in the business in Debbie King, and the other 18 years in the business, someone we all know and love, in Sue Plummer. And they're both here to speak to us today about this new digital learning environment that was Coach and as Matt Williams and I just discussed, is now Discover. So, ladies, are you both well?
Yeah,
Very
really
good,
well.
thank
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, brilliant, Sue. Brilliant, Debbie. And it's great to have you both. And Debbie, I'll maybe come to you first. And when speaking to Matt Williams about Discover and about this new learning platform, you know, one of the first stress tests we had for it was to expose our brand new travel counsellors to Discover to complete their induction. And that sounds, well, it sounds maybe digital and scary and impersonal and all the things that we are not, because we're highly personalised and we wanted that experience that people had when they come to a support centre like Venus for their induction to be even better online. And you had that experience. Actually, you were the second group who went through it just 2 months ago, and you provided this quote on Trustpilot, if we can go to it please. And it said, "So I guess you might expect all new franchisees to leave a positive rating. After all, it would be somewhat self-damaging to state that the company you just invested in was anything less than great. However, I have left a genuine 5-star review because I honestly cannot fault any aspect of my onboarding process so far." And you went on to say, Debbie, "I had several chats with existing TCs as well as the recruitment team. And you couldn't have been more wrong by what you thought you were going to expect by a digital induction. The content was perfectly pitched. They flexed the course according to the needs. You formed a firm bond with the other TCs that you joined with and that you know will serve you well going forward. And you talked about the team being great support and so willing to assist, and that your mentor, I believe, is Catherine Mackey, is there to help you in your first 6 months, and you've got regular business development and coaching calls. And going forward, there's just various sources of information available to you, and that you've been taught, which will be so critical to your success. And you felt educated and supported, and you couldn't ask for more, of course." Back to me, Jamie, of course, apart from the world opening up again. So that endorsement of induction and our new platform, Discover, has been the sentiment of everyone who has had a chance to experience it. But thank you for your review. And has it been all of that? Are you still feeling that way?
Yeah, it has. It's been 2 months of education. Keep going at it, keep learning, keep finding different ways to get information. But yeah, it's for me, I need to build my business. So the more that I can learn and the more that I can absorb, the faster I can start to do that and become a trusted advisor.
Listen, you made a booking with Rebecca Deacon, who we had on TCTV a few weeks ago, and you thought, goodness, this travel counsellor way is a way I'd like to get to know better, and so much so that you've now invested in a franchise yourself, joined us through the academy, and went into this new learning environment, which was new for us, but I suppose it was your only experience of a travel counsellor induction. So the system and how you interact with it, and the user-friendliness and the self-paced elements and all the jargon that we attach to it, what's it like in reality for a TC, either new or existing, to use? Is it user-friendly?
It's very user-friendly. I had originally wanted to join travel counsellors 18 months ago. I had spoken to lots and lots of people. I had joined. I had agreed to come to Venus and do my 2 weeks, and I was looking forward to meeting and greeting. We all know what happened. I couldn't join when I originally planned. So when I wanted to start again this summer, I was hesitant, I think is the best way to describe my feelings about doing it digitally. I felt that I may miss out on some interaction. I was concerned about sitting behind a screen and that phrase of death by PowerPoint, but it couldn't have been more different. I really thoroughly enjoyed my 2 weeks of training, and I learned as much as I needed to, but the beauty of it is that I could go at my own pace, but the other people on the induction group could also go at theirs. We're all different. We come from different backgrounds. We learn in different ways. So everyone could stop, start, ask questions and go at their own pace. So I found it really, really a positive experience.
Oh, brilliant feedback. And all we actually want is, as much as we want you to learn, travel and feel confident to support customers in making bookings and providing them with great experiences. All we actually want as a business is to make you feel that it's highly personalised, that Travel Counsellors is different. It's unique and it's special, and it's all the things that Sue, who we'll come to shortly, and everybody watching, know and love. And we say with us it's personal. We don't say with us it's digital. So with us, was it personal?
It is personal. It is personal in that the people that you meet right at the beginning, so the training team that onboarded us originally, made it personal, made sure that we felt comfortable to just pick up the phone or jump onto a quick Teams call and have a chat if we wanted to do that. It became personal in that our induction group actually went through the challenges together and we worked together. So we created our own sort of personal network amongst ourselves. And then it goes without saying that actually the wider group of TCs that I've come across, whether that's putting messages on message boards, whether I've reached out for help randomly to people, everybody makes it personal because everybody has stepped in to try and help and to try and answer questions and to steer us or to steer me in the right direction. So yes, it has been highly personal. It hasn't been the death by PowerPoint experience that I was kind of dreading it might be. It's been much, much more enjoyable than that.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And you're from Oxford, living in Oxford, and I think of, you mentioned Rebecca Deacon and obviously your mentor and Catherine Mackey, but I think of Sue had mentioned prior to us recording, whether it be Sally Rudman or Lisa Crispino or Lisa Harris or Sandra Robinson, and there's lots of other TCs in the Oxfordshire area, but you joined as part of an induction group and you've got access to the TC community as well as Rebecca and Catherine as your mentor. Tell us about some of those interactions and how that supports your learning as well.
Well, it's kind of strange because there were 5 of us in our induction group, and I feel like I know the 5 from my induction group really well, but I've never met them. So tomorrow we're going for pub lunch, which we're thoroughly looking forward to after TCTV, and we will put faces to names in real life. But I have had support. As I say, Catherine is my formal mentor, but she makes sure that she is at the end of the phone whenever I need her. Rebecca is the one when I tried to make a group booking for a big group holiday, I couldn't do it. And so I found Rebecca, and it was her work that kind of convinced me that this was for me. And so she's, whilst not in a formal capacity, my mentor, she's always picked up the phone and supported me. So, and it's, this morning, for example, we had a question as a group and we popped it onto Teams. We talked about it ourselves. We didn't have the answer, and Matt jumped onto it. So, there's support everywhere. Okay, it comes digitally at the moment, but that's our world that we're in at the moment, and it will improve and it will change again. But our personal support, the personal feeling is still there.
Good, and support should be, they talk about at the time of need. So when someone has a need at that moment in time, whether it be your induction group, whether it be your local TCs, whether it be your mentor, whether it be via the new starter section of TC World, the wider section that is TC World, whether it be in the support centre, whether it be picking up the phone to me as a last resort, meaning that I'm always available, but it may be the last person you'd like to speak to. We all want to make ourselves available, accessible, and provide information at the point that you need it. So actually having it in digital environments often for people is a very convenient environment these days with everything that everyone else has got going on. So really good, Debbie. And tell me, in terms of being an advocate of Discover, as we call it, the learning platform, and yes, you've got modules to complete as an academy new starter, but as you go, can you see it being part of your armoury as you get to grips with selling the world, which is a lot in, and we'll look to make that conveniently accessible through Discover? I
think that Discover is fabulous. I I come prior to this from an IT background. IT is ever changing. It's a fast moving feast, and you are only as good as you educate yourself to be. And just when you think you know the answer, you realize you don't. And the time that I invested in my previous life into teaching myself what I needed to know made me successful in that role. So this is no different. I need to, and anybody in the TC community needs to either begin to educate yourself or to continue to educate yourself. And Discover makes it really easy. Last night I had an inquiry and I was clicking about and I couldn't quite think where to go. And I had to slow myself down because I was feeling a bit like, I can't find what I need, and tapped it into TC World, and up it popped. And it reminded me that there was a course that I'd been on Discover that I just went back and rewatched, and straight away I thought, there you go. Stop panicking. You know what to do. You know where to find the information. So that was 10 o'clock last night. It means that I can work at any time that I want to work. I can do it when it's convenient for me and around my life. And I can find what I need quite quickly. I will also say that TC World as a newbie is fantastic, because I now don't have to try and remember where to find everything. I can just throw my inquiry into that, and 9 times out of 10, it will give me what I need. And quite often, that's buried in Discover. Quite often, that education is there and it's ready to be seen.
Fantastic, Debbie. And listen, the content has been vetted and contributed to by our TC community and by TCs like Sue Plummer. And Sue, 18 years in the business, there's plenty of aspects of travel counters and this wide world that you have discovered. But in your journey, developing and supporting how we're building the platform of Discover and moving from Coach to this enhanced platform, what have you learnt and seen? And do you feel that existing travel counsellors will benefit from all that Discover has to offer?
Absolutely. And I quite agree with Debbie's point in that sometimes it's the fact that you don't know the information, but you know where to find it. So if you can plug in the words in a search engine in TC World and find the information, it gives you that power. Knowledge is power. And nowadays we feel like the knowledge we've had, my knowledge over 18 years is, it's dwindled away over the past 18 months. So if I were to forget something, I have a mental block, I can just type the words into TC World or Discover and I can watch that training course. So the past 18 months has been a journey of educating myself and increasing my knowledge. But there's still things that I don't know. A lot of us don't know. So we can learn huge amounts from it.
Listen, you've been so active in the TC community from the first TC to Skype me when I first joined, inviting me down to the sunny Isle of Wight, to your different hair colours at conference and corporate and leisure, and working with other TCs and teams, and being a gold TC yourself and repatriating people and sharing an office with Paula McClumpha, and need I go on, but you're involved in most things in a really positive way and you add value to everything you get involved in. So having you involved in Discover, like we have had with many other TCs, has been invaluable for us, because you want to make sure that someone's sanity checking and that we're not saying, we think it's great here in the support centre, but we want to make sure that TCs think it's great. So as you've been working with Matt Williams and going through the content, are there modules, are there courses that you feel that existing TCs, especially after the pandemic, could benefit from getting back to grips with?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's all about going back to basics. I think we need to refresh ourselves with the basic knowledge. We know what we're doing, but sometimes we doubt ourselves. So I think refreshing yourself with the basic knowledge and the enhancements that Phoenix has come up with, and there's so many changes to the travelling world that I've enjoyed doing some of the modules, because I've learnt stuff and I've gone, why did I not know this? How did I not know this? So it's been really good, and especially interacting with the other guys that have been looking at it as well. It's been really good for me to go, do you know what? I don't know everything, but that's fine. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know where to find information.
And that's right. And some TCs I've spoken to said it's been so long ago, I don't remember my induction and what I learned or didn't learn. And there's a lot of learning on the job. But I think there's an opportunity post-pandemic for TCs to, as corny as it sounds, rediscover the type of content that a new starter would have as well. Not that we're trying to teach anyone what they already know, but to make available content that people think, goodness, a refresher on that, a revisit on that information will just serve me well right now, because our confidence has been shaken through this pandemic. And a way of getting our confidence back is by building our knowledge. What are your thoughts on that, Sue?
No, I agree completely. And I think the main issue that we're going to have moving forward, because we are going to get busy, we are going to get it back again, is that our confidence has been shaken. So we doubt ourselves. As soon as you start doubting yourself, that's when you lose your track and you get anxious and worried and think, I can't do this job. You absolutely can do this job, but you've got the head office are giving you the tools now to go, do you know what? If you just put a couple of keywords in, you'll find that information back again, and maybe you'll learn something new on it as well that will enhance the job even more. So, as Debbie said, take a breath. Go out to your community. I mean, my WhatsApp group, Cole Breton, Lisa Hilliard, Kath Glenn, Claire Horn, Jan Frakawiak, Frazzy, absolutely amazing. I can ask them anything, any time of the day or night, and they'll be there. So that is sort of like what TC World is. It's like an electronic hug saying, you know, it's fine, we've got it. We're a team. Let's ask a question and we'll get it answered.
I love that. It's an electronic hug. I love that, actually. I think that might stick, actually. It's an electronic hug, and it's all because we care, and the content is produced by Karina Fox-Andrews and Sandy Fisher and Debbie Glaister and Steph Wilson and many other, Maxine Roberts, and the names that we all know from across this business, the domain experts, as well as external information, but complemented and enhanced by TC input, TC interviews, TC sound bites, TC videos, and supplier information to boot as well. I'm selling it short in terms of what Discover has to offer, and it's for all of us to discover and get the most from. But I'm so privileged and delighted to have had Debbie King and Sue Plummer help bring it to life today. Thank you, ladies.
You're very welcome. Take care, guys.
Thank you.